great pact was sealed between the cities. Free companies were formed to hunt nightmares. Bonded in blood, they swear an oath to fight and die in defense of humanity.
OathSworn has taken the board game community by surprise with its rich narrative, its epic boss fights, and its massive campaign. But if you've completed the 60 more hours of gameplay the game has to offer, we've got you covered with more exciting dungeon crawlers and campaign games. Today we'll be mostly looking at cooperative games with long campaigns and RPG elements. And obviously here we're talking about big games, the kind where you want dedication in your playgroup. Let's go! Too Many Bones is Cheap Theory's take on the RPG genre, but with a dice building twist. This is a cooperative campaign game with up to 4 players and a solo mode as well. If you like Too Many Bones, you might also like Cheap Theory's other games, including Too Many Bones standalone expansion Undertow or Burn Cycle and Cloudspire. Frosthaven is the sequel to popular cooperative tabletop game Gloomhaven. It's a dungeon crawler / tactical RPG for 1 to 4 players with an insane amount of content. You might also like Gloomhaven and Jaws of the Lion, of course. Sleeping Gods is also a strong recommendation if you like exploring a map in between battles. Euthia is an open-world fantasy RPG board game inspired by classic video games. It can be played competitively, cooperatively, or solo, and might remind you of Mage Knight. If you like Euthia, also give a try to Dungeon Universalis, Zerewia, or Gloom of Kilforth. Machina Arcana is the obligatory Lovecraftian entry in this list. It's a cooperative dungeon crawler with a dark theme and a steampunk setting. For more team fights against evil, try Sword and Sorcery and Deep Madness. Brotherhood of Venice is the story-driven cooperative miniatures board game set in the Assassin's Creed universe. It has a great campaign and is one of the rare well-made video game adaptations to the board game world. People who like Assassin's Creed also recommend V Sabotage, Exodus, and Perdition's Mouth Abyssal Rift. Tainted Grail lets you explore a map in a dark Arthurian setting. The game offers strategic combat that will require different tactics with each encounter. You might also want to try This War of Mine, Cthulhu Death May Die, and Nemesis. Lead the uprising of a formerly enslaved fantasy race against the Empire and Chaos. Uprising Curse of the Last Emperor stands out in this list because it is not a campaign game and it is not an RPG. It is a 4X cooperative game, which is rare enough to be mentioned. People who like Uprising also recommend the following games: Shiver Me Timbers, The Defense of Procyon 3, and Townsfolk Tussle. Very different genres, so look them up. Alter Quest is a card-driven modular dungeon crawl. The game offers a cooperative campaign and looks and feels like classic board games such as Hero Quest, with modern mechanics. You might also like Street Masters, which uses similar mechanics, Hour of Need, and Dungeon Alliance. Chronicles of Drunagor is a fantasy dungeon crawler with an emphasis on tactics and resource management. It can be a bit rough around the edges, and people have called it an unpolished gem, but it has some unique mechanics such as its door system. I lied when I said Machina Arcana was the only Lovecraftian entry in this series. Darkest Dungeon, based on the video game of the same name, is a pretty straightforward dungeon crawler with lots of miniatures. As most games in this list, you can play it cooperatively or solo. More co-op games with a dark theme include Lobotomy 2, Wolfenstein the board game, and Folklore the Affliction. Beware the consequences of your actions while exploring a world of myth and legend in Trudvang Legend, a tabletop game based on the RPG Trudvang Chronicles. The gameplay is a bit lighter than other entries in this list, but the story makes up for it. You might also like Horizon Zero Dawn, Carnival Zombie, and Sea of Legends. Etherfields is a very original game by Awakened Realms where you have to explore dreams. It's a very thematic game of exploration, puzzles, and deck building. You might also like other games by Awakened Realms such as Nemesis Lockdown. Other recommendations include Bloodborne and Descent Legends of the Dark. ISS Vanguard is a game of space exploration. It's a cooperative campaign for 1 to 4 players. In Aeon Trespass Odyssey, you play as Argonauts, the only heroes able to fight darkness in this campaign game set in alternate antiquity. It has similar mechanics to Kingdom Death Monster, but with a stronger emphasis on the narrative. And my top recommendation for you if you like OathSworn is Midara. Midara might not be everyone's cup of tea with its very unique manga-inspired theme, but if you can get grabbed by the story, it is a truly unique dungeon crawler with lots of love put into it. And that's it for my recommended games if you like OathSworn. Maybe a bit heavy on the RPG and dungeon crawlers? Let me know in the comments, and see you next time.